On the day I married the heir of Jingyuan Marquis, his mistress Ruanyang went into labor. I stopped him from rushing out and threatened to take my own life if he didn't stay to complete the wedding ceremony. Our marriage was decreed by the emperor. Had he left, it would have been an act of defiance against the imperial order. Ruanyang died in childbirth along with her unborn child, without even getting to see him one last time. He came to despise me deeply and subjected me to endless torment after our marriage. When I was pregnant and about to give birth, he sealed off the Marquis residence, preventing anyone from fetching a midwife or doctor. He placed Ruanyang's memorial tablet before me and said, "She died because of you. Now, your life can be considered as exchanged for hers. I have written a letter of divorce to cast you aside. After your death, you can only be buried in a mass grave. I will record Ruanyang as the official wife of the Marquis's household in the family register, and she will be moved into the Xiao family ancestral tomb. After my death, I will be buried with her. I died from postpartum hemorrhage during a difficult childbirth, right in front of Ruanyang's memorial tablet. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of my wedding. Young master, it's terrible. Our young lady is going into labor. The midwife says it's a difficult birth. Please, Marquis, go and check on her quickly." A maid with a face as beautiful as a lotus flower rushed into the wedding hall, interrupting our ceremony. She knelt on the ground, weeping like a pear blossom bathed in rain, and kowtowed repeatedly. "Young master, I beg you to save the young lady. The child she carries is your own flesh and blood." The red silk in my hand tightened, and the person opposite released it. Xiao Qian turned pale with shock and exclaimed in disbelief, "What did you say? How could Ruanyang be having a difficult childbirth?" Xiao Qian abandoned the hall full of guests and was about to leave with the young maid. In my previous life, it was at this moment that I stopped him, forbidding him to leave and demanding that he complete the wedding ceremony. As a result, he resented me for the rest of his life, and this time, I will definitely not stop him again. I lifted the red veil in one swift motion. "Young master, who is Ruanyang? Why did this maid say she is carrying your child?" With a look of shock and suspicion on my face, I also appeared pitiable as an unwed bride. The guests whispered among themselves, "Miss Shen is truly pitiable. Before she even enters the household, her husband's mistress is about to give birth. What can be done? She'll become the mother of a concubine's eldest son as soon as she enters the household. It's uncertain whose son will inherit the young master's title in the future. Xiao Qian has gone too far. This is a marriage arranged by the emperor. If Miss Shen makes a scene and the marriage falls through, the Xiao family would be slapping the emperor in the face. What young lady would tolerate such a thing happening before even stepping into the bridal chamber on her wedding day? The Xiao family is trampling the Shen family's dignity underfoot." Xiao Qian, hearing my questioning, looked impatient. Ruanyang is carrying my child. I can't just stand by and watch her die. I'll explain it to you later." With that, he turned to leave. "Wait a moment." I stepped forward. "Young master, today is our wedding day, yet before we even complete the ceremony, you are ready to abandon me, and for an outsider at that. Where does that leave my Shen family? If the Marquis has someone in his heart, why didn't you say so earlier? Why humiliate me at the very moment of our vows? A daughter of the Shen family does not necessarily have to marry into your Xiao family." Xiao Qian flicked his sleeve. "It's not that I won't marry you, but Ruanyang's life is at stake. How can I stand by and do nothing?" My eyes reddened, tears on the verge of falling. But this marriage was personally bestowed by the emperor, and the auspicious time for the ceremony was chosen by the imperial astronomer. If you leave now, the marriage will be void. I ask the Marquis to explain this to His Majesty tomorrow. After speaking, tears fell like rolling pearls. To play the weak, I have learned it well in this lifetime. I want everyone to know that it is Xiao Qian who has wronged me, and it is the Xiao family's fault. The Marquis of Jingyuan and his wife, hearing the murmurs and feeling deeply ashamed, finally stepped forward and spoke. "Qian, do not act recklessly. Today is your wedding day. How can you abandon the young lady of the Shen family and leave? Get ready immediately. We will proceed with the ceremony at once." The young maid knelt with a thud. "Marquis, madam, our young lady is carrying the eldest grandson of the Marquis's household. How can you be so heartless? Young master, the young lady has followed you without any status or title, bearing and raising your children for you. Are you really going to stand by and do nothing? Xiao Qian chimed in. Father, mother, that is your own grandchild. How can you bear to be so heartless? Then he turned to look at me and said, since the marriage was decreed by His Majesty, it's already set in stone, why the rush? Could it be that the esteemed daughter of the Shen family is so eager to marry into our Xiao family? Wouldn't that be embarrassing if word got out? After saying this, he took a breath and continued, Ruji, I know you have a gentle nature. Once you become the mistress of the household, I'm sure you and Ruanyang will become good sisters. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live together in harmony? I sneered coldly, young master, we are not yet married, the wedding has not taken place, so I cannot be considered sisters with your mistress. I threw the red bridal veil to the ground, since the young master is so eager to save someone, and Ruanyang is carrying your flesh and blood, how could I, Ruji, harm her life and prevent you from rescuing her? However, since ancient times, it has been difficult to balance both affection and duty. If the young master insists on leaving, I, Ruji, will not stop you. But the marriage alliance between our two families cannot be broken because of you. After all, no one can bear the crime of defying the imperial decree. The Marquis of Jingyuan also had a livid face. Qian, this is defying the imperial decree. How can you, for the sake of a mistress, push the Marquisate into a dangerous situation? Xiao Qian retorted, Father, I only need to agree to marry her. What does it matter when the wedding ceremony takes place? You're being too timid. He completely disregarded the authority of the imperial decree, looking utterly unconcerned. Surely the emperor, in bestowing this marriage, doesn't dictate when we consummate the union. Seeing that he had finally angered the Marquis, I smiled faintly and stepped forward. Looking at the Marquis and his wife, I said word by word, Marquis, Madam, since this is an alliance between the Xiao and Shen families, it was never specified whom I am to marry. The heir already has someone in his heart. I, Ruji, do not wish to take what another loves. My marriage to him is hereby called off. As for the person I will marry today, I wish to change it to the second young master Xiao. The entire hall was stunned. Xiao Qian laughed loudly and said, What did you say? You want to marry my second brother? He's just a military man, while I am the legitimate heir of the Marquis of Jingyuan. Have you thought this through clearly? I looked directly at him and replied, So what? Although you are the heir, you already had a mistress and a child with her when you sought to marry me. How could I marry such an unfaithful man? Although the second young master is a military officer, he has no wives, concubines, or mistresses. He is 1,000, no, 10,000 times better than you. I then looked at him mockingly and added, Or is it that you regret it now and want to marry me? Oh dear, I wonder how Rui Niang is faring with her difficult childbirth. Is she in excruciating pain, writhing in agony, upon hearing my words? The young maid tugged at Xiao Qian's robe and pleaded, My lord, we cannot delay any longer. The young lady can't hold on much longer. Xiao Qian looked at me with a face full of disdain. Fine. Since you would rather be the wife of a military general than the wife of a noble heir, I will grant your wish. Once Rui Niang gives birth to my son, I will marry her and bring her into the household. Shunruji, don't you regret this? After saying this, he took off his wedding robe and threw it aside, then stormed off under the gaze of all the guests in the hall. I turned to my nanny and instructed her, Go back to the estate and ask the master and madam to come, and bring Xiao Qian's betrothal card with them. My parents arrived quickly upon hearing the news. My father, his face dark with anger, looked at the old Marquis and said, What a fine Jingyuan Marquis household. Do you think our Grand Tutor's household is made of weak stuff? The heir has caused such a scene over an outside woman on his wedding day. Don't blame me if I submit a memorial to the emperor tomorrow to impeach him. I stopped my father. Father, Xiao Qian and I have already made things clear. I will not marry him. After all, the marriage alliance between the Xiao and Shen families only mentioned a union between the two households, not specifically who was to marry whom. Now that Xiao Qian has an outside woman, your daughter absolutely will not marry him. But the Xiao family has more than one son. There is also the tiger-wielding general, Xiao Qifeng. Mother asked in a low voice. Ruji, you don't have to force yourself. Even if we take this matter to the emperor, it would still be the Xiao family's fault. I smiled faintly. Cancelling an imperial marriage decree is not so simple, but switching the bride is something that can easily be arranged. The emperor certainly wouldn't mind whether I marry the eldest son or the second son of the Xiao family. What he wants is an alliance between the two families to keep each other in check. Moreover, in my previous life, Xiao Qian drove me to my death for the sake of Ruanyang. It was Xiao Qifeng who reprimanded him at the memorial service for his betrayal of trust, for harming his lawful wife over some insignificant mistress, exposing Xiao Qian's ugly nature to everyone. The father pondered for a moment, then nodded in agreement. He turned to Jingyuan Marquis and asked, "What does the Marquis think?" Jingyuan Marquis and his wife hurriedly nodded. "This is excellent. But it's a pity that Ruji has been wronged." Someone quickly called Qifeng back. The father raised his hand to interrupt them. "Naturally, my daughter has been wronged. The heir's moral conduct is flawed. He openly defied the imperial decree. Marquis, if this matter reaches the emperor's ears, I'm afraid even the Jingyuan Marquis's estate will not escape reprimand. The heir, after being engaged to my daughter, was involved with another woman and even caused a scene on the wedding day. If the Marquis does not impose any punishment, I fear the emperor may think such misconduct was permitted by the Marquis." The Marquis of Jingyuan was stunned and grew anxious. "Then what should we do?" I spoke up. "Since the Marquis feels that Ruji has been wronged, and I, for the sake of preserving the dignity of both families, did not make a scene, nor did my father lodge a complaint before His Majesty. The only solution now is for the Marquis to submit a memorial requesting the removal of Xiao Qian's position as heir and have it transferred to Xiao Qifeng instead. After all, Xiao Qian, as the heir, has achieved nothing and has repeatedly caused trouble for the Marquis's household, while the second young master is brave and outstanding, having repeatedly distinguished himself in battle, even praised by the emperor. Does the Marquis not think he is more suited to inherit the title? Or does the Marquis believe that someone who defies imperial decrees is still more fit to be the heir?" The Marquis of Jingyuan looked utterly defeated and finally nodded. "Very well, as you say. Tomorrow I will submit a memorial requesting to change the heir. Second young master is here." Xiao Qifeng was discovered standing behind the crowd. Though no one knew how long he had been listening, he stepped forward, and the Marquis of Jingyuan patted his shoulder. "From now on, the Marquis of Jingyuan estate will rely on you. Since your elder brother disregards the future of our estate, let him pursue his freedom. From now on, he will no longer be the heir." Xiao Qifeng looked deeply at me. "Miss Shen, you should know that I am merely a martial man, unversed in the arts of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. I fear I cannot often compose poetry with you, nor will I always have time to sweep snow and brew tea for you. But I, Xiao Qifeng, swear that if you marry me, I will protect you for a lifetime. Are you willing?" I laughed. "I'm willing." Amid the sounds of joy and celebration, I put the red veil back on and bowed to heaven and earth with Xiao Qifeng, becoming husband and wife. Looking at the burning dragon and phoenix candles, I finally felt at ease. This time, I had finally escaped Xiao Qian and taken his position as the heir. I wanted to see if he would regret it for the sake of a woman named Rui. Losing his status as the heir and forever cutting ties with the title of Marquis of Jingyuan, the news that Xiao Qian had abandoned his wedding for his mistress spread throughout the capital overnight. Xiao Qian did not return all night. And even when Xiao Qifeng and I were serving tea to the elders and greeting the clan relatives, the Marquis sent someone to fetch Xiao Qian back. Unexpectedly, not only did Xiao Qian return, but Ruanyang also came back holding a child. Wearing a white fox cloak and a jeweled headband, she entered the mansion. Leaning weakly into Xiao Qian's embrace, she curtsied with the child in her arms, speaking in a delicate, coquettish tone. "Greetings to the Marquis and Madam, Bower. Quickly greet your grandfather and grandmother." She teased the child in her arms, her face full of pride. The Marquis of Jingyuan and his wife had faces ashen with anger. "What day is today? How dare you bring her back to the mansion?" Xiao Qian said. Father, mother, Ruanyang risked her life to give birth to Bao for me. He is the legitimate eldest grandson of our Marquis household. Ruanyang and I are truly in love. I have decided to marry her as my principal wife. To be the lady of the heir to the Marquis of Jingyuan. Ruanyang looked at him with a moved expression. My dear Xiao, having you in this life is enough for me. We, mother and son, ask for nothing more. Please do not cause trouble for the Marquis and his wife. Xiao Qian held her tightly. You gave birth to Bao for me, making you a great contributor to the Jingyuan Marquis manor. My mind is made up. You shall be the wife of the heir to our Jingyuan Marquis manor. He saw me walk in wearing a bright red dress, and his expression softened as he said, I know you were wronged yesterday when we didn't complete the wedding ceremony, leaving you to face the guests alone. I didn't expect you to be so understanding, spending your wedding night alone without causing any trouble. I will make it up to you in the future. What I said last night about cancelling the marriage was just spoken in anger. I will treat you well from now on. However, since Ruanyang gave birth to my eldest son, I can only make her the wife of the heir, but you will also be an equal wife. Ruanyang has a gentle nature and is not suited to managing the household affairs. In the future, you will be in charge of the household, which also gives you face. You and Ruanyang must get along harmoniously as sisters. I frowned as I listened to his nonsense and was about to speak when someone spoke up for me. Brother, what are you saying to my wife? Ruji, it's time to serve tea to the elders. Xiao Chifeng stepped out from behind me and gently pulled me forward. Xiao Qian was stunned. What wife? What are you talking about? The one who performed the wedding ceremony with Ruji was me. How could she be your wife? Xiao Chifeng smiled, tightly holding my hand as he looked at him. No, you didn't perform the ceremony. Weren't you off looking for your Ruanyang? Now everyone in the capital knows that the one who performed the wedding ceremony and entered the bridal chamber with her last night was me. Xiao Qian shouted, Impossible. Father, mother, how could you let such a thing happen? Isn't this a joke? The Marquis of Jingyuan said with a dark expression. You still know that the Marquis's residence was a laughingstock last night. If it weren't for Chifeng, our family's reputation would have been completely ruined. The imperial decree has arrived. A eunuch's shout interrupted the argument. By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees, Xiao Qian, the heir of the Marquis of Jingyuan, has failed in his conduct and disregarded the emperor's grace. The emperor approves the Marquis of Jingyuan's request to strip Xiao Qian of his position as heir and bestows the title upon Xiao Chifeng instead. The heir's wife, Lady Shin, is intelligent, virtuous, dignified, and graceful, and is hereby granted the title of second-rank lady. May the couple work together in harmony. So it is decreed. Everyone knelt to receive the decree and express their gratitude, except for Xiao Qian, who stood there dumbfounded. Only after the eunuch left did he come to his senses. He slumped to the ground and cried out, Why, I am the rightful heir of the Marquis of Jingyuan. Why has my position been taken away? His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at me. So you're that kind of fickle woman, you were already engaged. Yet just because I had to go save Ruanyang, you could marry another man. I was infuriated by his attempt to shift the blame and laughed coldly. Xiao Qian. Yesterday's wedding was set by the emperor as the day for the union of our two households. You may not take it seriously, but the Xiao family cannot risk endangering the entire clan because of you. If the emperor were to take offense, who would bear the charge of defying his decree? You, the Marquis, or the hundreds of clansmen who would have to shoulder it for you? You were engaged, yet you still dallied with others outside, and now you want to pin the blame on me. You may not care about living, but we do. Weren't you the one who disregarded the Marquis's household? Why are you suddenly so concerned about the position of heir now? The Marquis of Jingyuan, seated in the main position, spoke up. Qian, you lack responsibility and nearly caused a great disaster. Submitting the petition to change the heir was my decision. There is no need for you to say more. Xiao Qian roared in anger. I am the heir, you cannot treat me this way. The Marquis of Jingyuan looked at him coldly, utterly disappointed. What, do you intend to defy the imperial decree? He finally swallowed his words and glared fiercely at me and Xiao Chifeng. But no one paid him any attention. only looking joyfully at Xiao Qifeng and me as we offered tea and performed the ceremony for the newlyweds. When it came to Xiao Qian, I followed the etiquette and offered him a cup of tea. Elder brother, please have some tea. Then I glanced at Ruanyang. As for this lady, how should I address her? If I call her sister-in-law, she hasn't officially entered the family. But if she's a concubine, then I must apologize, Ruji, for being impolite and not offering this cup of tea. Ruanyang's eyes reddened as she tugged at Xiao Qian's sleeve. Xiao Lang. Xiao Qian seemed to snap back to reality, glaring fiercely at me. This is your sister-in-law. On the day Bao turns 1 month old, I will marry her and bring her into the household. I covered my mouth and laughed lightly. Oh, so it's sister-in-law, my apologies. But ever since last night, sister-in-law has become quite the celebrity in the capital. I suppose everyone is curious to see what kind of person she is. I'm sure that on the day of your wedding, the number of guests coming to witness the ceremony will be enough to overwhelm the Marquis's estate. Xiao Qian let out a cold laugh. Do you think that by seizing the position of heir, everything is secure, Shenruji? I will make you regret marrying my second brother. You will come to realize that marrying me would have been the right choice. By the time you regret it, it will already be too late. After speaking, he stood up and looked at the Marquis of Jingyuan. Father, I have already consulted the almanac. 1 month from now, when Bao turns 1 month old, it will be an auspicious day. I plan to welcome Ruanyang into the household at that time. The Marchioness slammed the table. Impossible. The Marquis of Jingyuan's household will absolutely not welcome a courtesan from the pleasure quarters. That's right, Ruanyang is a courtesan from the Baihua Pavilion. In his previous life, Xiao Qian fell in love with her at first sight in the brothel and pledged his life to her. Because of the rumors, he couldn't bring Ruanyang into the household. But he placed all the blame and anger on me. In this life, everything has changed. Now that I have married Xiao Qifeng, I want to see how he plans to bring his Ruanyang into the household without my interference. Xiao Qian said stubbornly, Ruanyang has borne me a son. I cannot let the Xiao family's flesh and blood drift outside. Ruanyang knelt down holding the child, staring only at me. Madam, everyone says you are dignified and magnanimous. I only beg you to give Bao and me a place to stay. Now that the Marquis household will surely be under your management as the mistress, I beg you to let us mother and son enter the residence. I beg you. She did not beg the Marchioness, but knelt before me. I covered my chest with a frightened expression, looking at my mother-in-law. Mother, today is only my first day entering the household. How dare I make such a decision? I beg for your understanding. I only listen to you, mother. I then looked at Ruanyang. Ruanyang, I am merely a new bride who has just entered the Marquis household. You do not beg the Marquis and the Marchioness, but instead beg me. Are you not intentionally making things difficult for me? I got married yesterday, and you just happened to give birth yesterday, turning the Marquis's residence upside down. Today, I am serving tea and paying respects to the elders of the Xiao family, and before I've even been formally introduced to everyone. You're kneeling here trying to make things difficult for me, a new bride, by demanding that I let you into the household. What kind of grudge do you hold against me? Why are you making things hard for me at every turn? The person you should be pleading with is the future wife of the Marquis's eldest son, not me. We are merely sisters-in-law. The Marchioness slammed the table and said, Qian, let me tell you, out of respect for the fact that she has borne you a child, I will allow you to take her as a concubine, but if you even think about making her your wife, our Jingyuan Marquis's residence cannot afford such a disgrace. Don't even dream of it. Moreover, when the primary wife enters the household, her children must be raised by the legitimate mother. Ruanyang's tears fell like rolling pearls. I beg you, madam, to show mercy. I only have Bao as my child. I cannot give him to another woman to raise. Xiao Qian retorted, Mother, whom I marry is my own affair. Can I not even decide who I marry? The Marchioness looked at him with disappointment in her eyes. If you are still the eldest son of the Marquis household, you cannot, if you wish to make your own decisions, unless you voluntarily leave the household and are no longer a member of the Jingyuan Marquis family. Otherwise, your marriage, the position of the eldest daughter-in-law of the Jingyuan Marquis household, can absolutely not be her. Rui Niang collapsed crying into Xiao Qian's arms. Madam, I did not willingly fall into the brothel. I was sold there to pay for my mother's medical treatment. When I was with Xiao Lang, I was still a pure courtesan. I was clean and innocent. The Marchioness looked at her. No matter how you ended up in the brothel, in the eyes of the world, you are a brothel woman, whether you were a pure courtesan or not. No one cares. Qian, do you really think that if she becomes your official wife, any of the noble ladies in the capital would invite her to their gatherings? Who would be willing to sit at the same table as a brothel woman? It would be degrading, and it would mean that the Jingyuan estate would no longer be able to enter the circles of the capital's elite. Is that what you want? You're acting recklessly without considering the future of the marquisate, but your father and I cannot. If you insist on marrying her, then you must leave the estate voluntarily. And we will act as if we never had a son like you. A smile touched the corners of my lips. Good, this time, I'd like to see how Xiao Qian will choose. As expected, Xiao Qian backed down. How could he easily give up the wealth and status of Jingyuan Marquis Manor? That night, the young maid I had placed in the main courtyard came to report that Xiao Qian and Rui Niang had started arguing as soon as they returned to their quarters. Rui Niang, having just given birth a day ago, was physically and emotionally exhausted. She cried, Xiao Lang, you promised to marry me as your official wife, to make me the future lady of the manor, but now, your mother actually says I should be a concubine. Does that mean our child will be a mere illegitimate son? Xiao Qian gently coaxed her. Don't worry, I would never treat you unfairly. This is just a matter of status. Even if my mother arranges for me to marry someone else, she would merely be a figurehead. No one could ever surpass you in my heart. You are the one I truly cherish. Rui Niang, with reddened eyes, sobbed. Really, swear to me that you won't touch any other woman and that you will love only me for the rest of your life. Xiao Qian laughed and said, You are the mother of my child. How could I bear to see you sad or upset? I laughed out loud upon hearing the little maid's retelling. My husband looked at me and said, They are so distressed, yet you, my lady, seem to be extremely pleased. I snorted coldly. Of course I'm pleased. They wanted me to lose face and swallow my grievances. Dream on. When we return home in 3 days, I'll ask my mother for help. We must find a perfectly suitable wife for your elder brother. Because the incident at Jingyuan Marquis Manor had caused such a huge stir, everyone in the capital knew that Xiao Qian had stirred up major trouble over an outside mistress and had even lost his position as the heir because of it. Naturally, the ladies of noble families were unwilling to marry their daughters into such a situation, as no one wanted their daughter to enter a marriage where the husband not only had a favored concubine but also an illegitimate eldest son. However, just because the ladies in the capital are unwilling doesn't mean that outsiders are unwilling as well. It so happened that General Hui had returned to the capital to report on his duties, bringing his wife and daughter with him. His legitimate daughter, Liu Rushuang, was exceptionally courageous and skilled in spear techniques. The general had kept her unmarried until now because he wanted her to marry into a family in the capital, sparing her the hardships of the borderlands. My mother's close friend, the lady of Ningguo Manor, hosted a tea party, inviting General Hui's wife and daughter, as well as the Jingyuan Marquis household. Liu Rushuang and I were seated at the same table. I took her hand and said, You are so beautiful, sister. When I see you, it feels as though we've known each other for a long time, as if we were family. Could this be fate? I led her to my mother-in-law and said, Mother, don't you think Miss Liu and I look like sisters? If she could become part of our family, that would be wonderful. When the mother-in-law saw Liu Rushuang, she was extremely satisfied and happily chatted with General Hui's wife. By the end of the banquet, they had become as close as sisters. The two ladies hit it off immediately. One admired the straightforward and resilient nature of the general's daughter, who wouldn't be easily bullied, while the other valued the prestigious status of the Jingyuan Marquis's household, where she would become the eldest daughter-in-law upon marriage. The two families quickly exchanged betrothal letters, sent betrothal gifts, and swiftly completed all the wedding procedures, setting the wedding date just 2 months later. Soon, it was time for Bao's full moon celebration. Xiao Qian insisted on combining Bao's full moon banquet with the celebration of welcoming Ruanyang into the household. Ruanyang had finally completed her month of postpartum confinement and went out with her maids and servants to purchase items for the full-month celebration. At Jinqiu Pavilion, she unexpectedly ran into Liu Rushuang. Ruanyang sat in the flower hall sipping tea while her maid arrogantly ordered the shop assistant around. "Our mistress wants fully embroidered bright red wedding dresses. Quickly bring a few for us to see. As long as they're beautiful, we don't care about the cost." The shop assistant, seeing a big spender had arrived, hurriedly called for people to bring the bright red wedding dresses. I was accompanying Liu Rushuang to select items for her wedding, since she had come from the border region and hadn't prepared these dowry items in advance. She needed to buy ready-made clothes in the capital. We had just chosen one dress and were about to try it on when the shop assistant took the wedding dress away, saying some noble lady had taken a liking to it. Liu Rushuang, true to her fiery temper as a general's daughter, slammed the table and said, "Who dares to compete with me for something?" Ruanyang snorted coldly in the flower hall, "I am the primary wife of the Marquis of Jingyuan's household. Who do you think you are, daring to fight me for the wedding dress?" Liu Rushuang's face turned cold as she lifted the curtain and entered. The primary wife of the Marquis of Jingyuan's household, Xiao Qian's wife. Didn't Xiao Qian just get engaged? "I've never heard of you." Ruanyang lifted her chin and said, "Engaged? Ha, my husband said that no matter who he marries as the primary wife, she's just a figurehead. I will always be the one he loves most in his heart. Let that official wife be the primary consort if she wants. In my eyes, she's nothing at all. My husband said he would love only me for the rest of his life. What does it matter if she's from a noble family? I'm the one who gave birth to the eldest grandson of the Marquis household. Besides, who are you? What does it matter to you whom my husband marries?" After saying this, she handed the wedding dress to the shop assistant. "I'll take this one, put it on the account and collect the payment from the Jingyuan Marquis residence." Liu Rushuang stopped her. "This is the wedding dress I chose. How dare you, a mere concubine, wear bright red? Is this the rule of the Jingyuan Marquis household? Does Xiao Qian dare to favor a concubine over his wife? Isn't he afraid of being impeached by the censors, if he dares to let a concubine enter the household wearing a bright red wedding dress? Where does that leave the Liu family?" Ruanyang lifted her head. "That Liu family is nothing more than a military household, utterly uncouth. They should be grateful to have their daughter married into the Marquis residence. What more could they want? My husband said I can wear whatever I want." I stood up and walked in. "Ruanyang, do not be presumptuous. As a concubine, how can you purchase a bright red wedding dress? This lady Liu Rushuang is the legitimate daughter of General Liu's family. When she enters the household in the future, you will both be sisters. As a concubine, you should respect the principal wife even more. Put down the wedding dress at once." Ruanyang was startled and stood up. "Lady Liu, I'm sorry, I only came to buy a wedding dress. I beg for your compassion. Ruanyang is alone and unfortunate, born into poverty. I know I cannot compare to a young lady from a noble family, but I just want to be a proper bride once, to marry in a bright red wedding dress. Is that not allowed either?" Amid the commotion, Xiao Qian walked in and, seeing Ruanyang with reddened eyes, couldn't help but ask, "What's going on?" Ruanyang threw herself into his arms. "Husband, I just want to wear a bright red wedding dress once, to be your proper, lawful wife for a day. Is that too much to ask? I know I'll be a concubine in the future, but being sold into a brothel wasn't my choice. I was pure when I was with you. Is it really not allowed, even just once, to wear a bright red wedding dress?" Xiao Qian comforted her tenderly. "Who said it's not allowed? I say it is. We'll buy this one, the most expensive and beautiful one." I pretended to persuade from the side. Miss Liu also had her eye on this piece earlier and intended to purchase it for her wedding. Ruanyang is merely a concubine, how could she overstep her bounds? Xiao Qian only then noticed Liu Rushuang and me standing nearby. His face briefly showed panic before he frowned and said, "It's just a wedding dress, why make such a fuss?" "Miss Liu, Ruanyang won't be entering the household at the same time as you. Besides, no matter what color wedding dress she wears, she's still just a concubine and can't compete with you. Why be so calculative about it? Slap. Liu Rushuang struck Xiao Qian with lightning speed. A man like you is truly disgusting. You already have an illegitimate eldest son before even getting married, spoiling your concubine and neglecting your wife. Now you have the audacity to suggest letting a concubine wear a bright red wedding dress to enter the household right in front of me. Do you think everyone in the Liu family is dead? This marriage alliance might as well be called off. After saying this, she turned and left without hesitation. The news that Ruanyang and Liu Rushuang had a big fight at Jinqiu Pavilion over a wedding dress quickly spread. As soon as Liu Rushuang returned to the general's mansion, she cried and made a scene, demanding to break off the engagement. Upon receiving the news, the mother-in-law was furious. As soon as Ruanyang and Xiao Qian entered the mansion, the mother-in-law glared at Ruanyang and roared, "You wretch, kneel down, you, a mere concubine, dare to buy a wedding dress meant for the principal wife, and even dare to argue with the future mistress in public. Who gave you the nerve?" Ruanyang knelt in the middle of the courtyard, not daring to say a word. I quickly tried to calm her. "Mother, Ruanyang has just given birth to the eldest grandson for the Marquis's household. Please don't be so angry." My mother-in-law grew even angrier. Giving birth to a firstborn illegitimate son, the root of family ruin. It's precisely because of this that people look down even more on the Marquis's household. Ruanyang, do you think just because you've had a son you're something special? Let me tell you, our Marquis's household is not short of heirs. Do you think just by giving birth to an illegitimate son you can get all high and mighty? Guards, seize her and give her 10 lashes. Let's see if she learns her lesson and dares to argue with the mistress again. I quickly tried to soothe my mother-in-law. Mother, Rushuang is indeed very angry, but she's still young and hot-tempered. Her anger comes and goes quickly. Why not have Ruanyang personally go to the Liu family to apologize? If she does, Rushuang might calm down, and this marriage arrangement could still proceed. Ruanyang screamed, "I won't go. She can't possibly expect me to go and apologize, madam. You have such a vicious mind, you just want to see me make a fool of myself. As the future mistress of the household, if she can't even tolerate her husband's concubines, where is the dignity of a proper lady? Such a jealous woman, her husband could very well divorce her." I watched her digging her own grave, infuriating my mother-in-law to the point that her face turned pale with anger. I pretended to be hurt and said, "Mother, I only meant well, since I happen to get along with Miss Liu. I thought I'd persuade Ruanyang to apologize. I never expected she would think of me that way. It seems I overstepped." My mother-in-law patted my hand comfortingly and said, "I know you are sensible. Don't bother arguing with a lowly servant like her." Then, she looked coldly at Ruanyang. "If you don't want to apologize, that's fine. After all, you haven't been given any official status yet. Leave the mansion tomorrow. Our Marquis's household doesn't need someone like you." In the end, Ruanyang still went to the Liu family to apologize. She knelt in front of the Liu residence for an entire day. By the time Liu Rushuang came out to see her, Ruanyang's face had already turned blue from the cold. Liu Rushuang stood before her and sneered, "Ruanyang, who do you think you are? Let me tell you, the tricks of a woman from the brothels are nothing in the eyes of a noble lady. Because of your background, you are nothing. How dare you compete with me? Remember this. I will marry into the Marquis's household and become your mistress. You will always kneel before me and treat me with the utmost respect. Oh, and one more thing, I've already sent someone to the Marquis's household to inform them that after I marry in, I will personally raise your son. After all, I am his legal mother. Don't worry, I will treat him well and make sure he calls me mother." Ruanyang's eyes were red with rage. "How dare you? That's my son." Liu Rushuang smiled. "It is only natural for the legitimate mother to educate the children in the household. Besides, with your background from a brothel, if word got out that you were raising the heir, the reputation of the Marquis household would be ruined. Now, the Marchioness of Jingyuan has already agreed. In a few days, I will marry into the Marquis household. By then, your son will be mine. When I have children of my own in the future, your son will serve them like a beast of burden. What can you do about it?" Ruanyang returned to the Marquis household with a face as pale as death. That night, she tearfully complained to Xiao Qian that Liu Rushuang is a vicious woman. "My husband, You must not let her take my son away. Xiao Qian laughed. She's talking nonsense. Bao is the eldest grandson of the Marquis's household. How would she dare to lay a hand on him? Although her child will be the legitimate heir of the Marquis's household in the future, Bao, even as a concubine-born son, is still my child. I will never treat him unfairly. His repeated emphasis on concubine-born son and legitimate heir deeply wounded Rui Niang's heart. I watched as Rui Niang, restless and uneasy, held Bao every day, sitting in the back garden lost in thought. Xiao Qian, busy with the wedding preparations, had no time to comfort her for several days. I couldn't help but smile. In the previous life, their love was as deep as the sea. But now everything had changed. Xiao Qian had lost his position as the heir because of Rui Niang and was now trying to rely on his wife's family to gain more advantages. Meanwhile, my husband, Qi Feng, had been performing his duties exceptionally well lately, earning the emperor's deep favor. My father mentioned that the emperor had publicly praised him several times as a promising talent, saying that he would bring great honor to the Marquis's household when he inherits it in the future. Even the emperor, on the Marquis's birthday, bestowed gifts and said that the heir had performed exceptionally well, so he specifically rewarded the Marquis, praising him for raising his son so admirably. This made my parents-in-law even more satisfied with Qifeng and me, and when they looked at Xiao Qian and Ruanyang, they felt even more distressed. My mother-in-law and father-in-law even handed over the family heirloom, which was meant to be passed down to the eldest son and his wife. Directly to Qifeng and me, the future of the Marquis's household now rests on you. This family heirloom, of course, should be given to you. When Xiao Qian found out, he was so angry his eyes turned red. Looking at Ruanyang, who cried and sobbed in her room every day, he felt even more regretful. For her, he had lost his position as the heir and the opportunity to marry a noblewoman from a prestigious family. One wrong step had led to a series of mistakes. On the day of Xiao Qian's wedding, just as Liu Rushuang and he were about to drink the ceremonial nuptial wine, a maid came to report, "Young master, concubine Rui says that young master Bao has a fever and has been crying non-stop. Would you like to go and see?" Liu Rushuang slammed her cup down. "Is my husband a doctor? Tell concubine Rui to stop with these boring tricks to win favor. If the child is sick, call a doctor. What good is it to look for my husband?" When Rui Niang heard that Xiao Qian refused to come see her and Bao, she angrily took off Bao's clothes and let him stand in the cold wind, muttering, "Bao, your father is heartless and won't come see us. Only when you're seriously ill will he come, in the middle of the night." Bao developed a high fever. Rui Niang carried Bao and went to knock on Xiao Qian's courtyard door, but she was immediately silenced and driven away by Liu Rushuang's personal maid. "Today is the mistress's wedding night. How dare you, a mere concubine, cause trouble here? Someone, slap her face." Rui Niang returned to her courtyard with a swollen, red face, holding Bao and crying continuously. When the servants reported the situation and her mother-in-law arrived with a doctor, they found that Bao was already convulsing from the fever. Rui Niang was still crying. "My husband is so heartless. Bao is truly sick. I slapped her across the face. For the sake of a man, you would even harm your own son, you vicious woman." The doctor quickly took his pulse and prescribed medicine. "The young master's fever is too severe, and is still so small. Whether he can even take the medicine is one thing, but if it doesn't go down by dawn, I'm afraid." Rui Niang collapsed to the ground, crying out in despair, "Baobei, what's wrong? Mother didn't mean to do this." By morning, when Xiao Qian and Liu Rushuang woke up, they heard a cry from outside. A servant came to report, "Young master, the little one, passed away last night." When Xiao Qian arrived, Rui Niang was clutching Bao's lifeless little body tightly, murmuring, "I didn't mean to. Mother just wanted you to be your father's legitimate eldest son." She had gone mad. After Bao was buried, Rui Niang disappeared. Despite extensive searches, no trace of her could be found. From then on, Rui Niang was never seen again in the Jingyuan Marquis residence. After Xiao Qian married, Liu Rushuang never bore any children. A physician's diagnosis revealed that Xiao Qian's body had a problem. He was incapable of fathering children. Xiao Qian exclaimed, "How is this possible? How could I be unable to have children? It turns out Ruenyang even bore me a son. A maid found a packet of powder in Ruenyang's room. It was a medicine to prevent conception. I suspect that after Bao's death, in her last moment of clarity, Ruenyang administered the medicine to Xiao Qian. Without a word, Liu Rushuang divorced him on the grounds that he could not have children. Xiao Qian sat alone in the courtyard, muttering to himself, "How did it come to this? I am the heir, with a bright future ahead of me. How could this happen?" Xiao Qian went mad. To cover up the family scandal, the Xiao family sent him to the family temple, where 2 elderly servants were assigned to attend to him until the end of his days. As for me and my husband, we inherited the Jingyuan marquisate. I caressed the child in my womb, thinking that in the future, the Jingyuan marquisate would also belong to my son.